This is the Samsung Galaxy S4, Samsung's 4th generation Android flagship smartphone. On the outside it looks almost identical to the Galaxy S3, with the only obvious differentiator being the silver trim on the outside. It's got the same curved pebble design, and is really thin at just 7.9mm. At the bottom it's got the same physical home button, with two backlit touch-sensitive buttons that disappear after a while, an easy-to-reach power button on the side, and volume controls on the other, an LED indicator on the top for notifications, and unfortunately, still has the same cheap plastic casing, although this time featuring a nicer pattern. Where it really stands out compared to its older brother is all the tech they've managed to stuff into this phone. Let's start with the obvious things. The S4 features a massive 5-inch Full HD Super AMOLED display, resulting in beautiful images with a really sharp pixel density of 441 pixels per inch. Then there's the 13 megapixel camera at the back with an LED flash. And even the front camera wasn't forgotten, because it has a 2 megapixel sensor capable of recording full HD video. You'd expect Samsung to put the best specs in the phone, and they did, with a 1.9 GHz quad-core CPU, 2GB of RAM, 16GB of internal storage, yet still expandable by micro SD card, and not to mention all the radios they've put into the S4. You've got 4G LTE, Wi-Fi with N and even AC support, GPS, Bluetooth 4.0, and even NFC. Things that make geeks drool. But the amazing part is all the things you didn't expect Samsung to put inside. Notice that little black dot up here? That's an IR blaster. That's right, using the Samsung Watch On app powered by PU, you can not only get a local TV guide, but even control your TV and set-top box. In other words, it's got a universal TV remote built in. Then there's all the sensors inside. That's right, sensors. Apart from the usual proximity sensor to sense when your face is nearby while making a call, the gyro sensor and accelerometer for screen rotation and other functionality, and the compass, it's also got a gesture sensor to sense your hands without you touching the screen, a temperature and humidity sensor, a barometer to measure atmospheric pressure, and even an RGB light sensor that supposedly helps the display adjust itself according to the lighting environment. Samsung almost stuffed everything it could stuff inside a smartphone into the S4. Technologically speaking, the S4 could possibly be one of the most advanced pieces of smartphone hardware on the market today. The real question, however, is whether all that tech really makes a difference in your daily smartphone life. In my personal experience, not really. That brings me to the software side of the S4. The S4 is powered by Android 4.2.2, the latest version of Android as of recording, and Samsung's custom user interface and apps. The new UI is filled with features that make use of all the sensors I mentioned earlier, including face detection features. This feature makes use of the front-facing camera to detect your eyes, to add features such as scrolling the page when you're looking at the screen, pausing video when you look away, or keeping the screen on when you're reading it. The original idea is that these features shouldn't require you to do anything special. The phone is just going to be aware of what you're doing and do things intelligently. In real-world tests, however, they don't work very well and can be downright annoying. Videos pause when I don't want it to, and smart scrolling usually just doesn't work or add real value. In the end, after a day hoping to give the smart features a chance, I just ended up turning everything off. My guess is that the ever-changing lighting environment around us causes the camera to have a lot of trouble properly detecting my eyes. And apart from the ability to hover my finger over an item in Flipboard to get a peek at stories in a website, and of course the TV remote, I hardly ever make use of any of the other sensors and so-called smart features. The other thing to note is that a lot of the useful software features are ironically turned off by default. The lock screen, for example, is featureless by default, but if you're willing to explore the phone settings, you'll realize that you can add app shortcuts and even full Android 4.2 widgets, making the lock screen a lot more useful. The next question is battery life. With all those tech and sensors, won't battery life on the S4 be bad? Surprisingly, not at all. Even with every smart feature turned on, including all that face detection, I was able to squeeze a whole day out of the S4, easily outlasting my iPhone. This is either due to the massive 2600 mAh battery or Samsung's great power management. At the end of the day, whether all the extra tech Samsung stuffed into the S4 is a gimmick or not, you cannot deny that the S4 is a very powerful Android smartphone, capable of running any game or app you can throw at it, and run it extremely well. Perhaps Samsung realized that specs alone won't catch people's attention to their new flagship. But don't let that distract you from what actually makes the S4 compelling: the fact that it's a real powerhouse.